Yeah. And while we're waiting, everyone else, I want to say that the first meeting were actually very interesting. I received some feedbacks and it was lovely. So I'm waiting today. Actually, not so much participants at the like in previous topic because of registrations, they mentioned that they want which one they want. But anyway, this topic will be recorded and will be sent, and I'm sure that all participants are very focused on this topic. So you probably will have a lot of interesting questions. And because of not much participants, and we have just one speaker or two of them, you can have more your answers than previous one, because we had like very briefly 15 minutes per each speaker and it wasn't so comfortable. But anyway, if you will have any questions after this webinar, you're very welcome to write feedback on my email. You know my email, so please connect me if so. Alessandro told me that I can introduce our association and make first like intro in Ukrainian, but I am already into English. So sorry guys, you were reading that this will be English without subtitles. So oops. No, but anyway, I'm joking. You have in your Zoom captions, you can turn it on. If you don't know how to do it, please unmute yourself and ask, and we will explain you how to make it possible. So if you have this, if you can have these settings, you can make it right now while we have time. Also, while we are waiting, I think maybe 3 more minutes. I see that here some our members of our association and not only members. So I will tell a few words about who I am and who is one of organizer of this meeting. So my name is Irina Yetskova, and I'm introducing EdTech Ukraine Association. So this association is gathering all Ukrainian stakeholders who are working on EdTech projects. It could be not just the companies, it's also different kind of, let's say, academic institutions or NGOs, or also we are making negotiations with our government to put the level of to make the level of our education system better and better with all of you. So if you are interested to put your impact to this sphere, you're very welcome to join us and to make us stronger with your experience. So I think by this from this point, I will give the microphone to Alexandra probably to introduce their another organizers and probably to introduce the speaker. So thank you, Alexandra. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Irina. Thank you, everyone. Hello to everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today with the second webinar of this series that we have put together for EdTech Ukraine in partnership with AWS. My name is Alessandro Bilotta. I'm the Director of Program Management at EdTech-Partners. I'm based in London, but all of my colleagues at EdTech-Partners are all over the world. So we are a boutique consulting firm that specializes in education. Our founder is based in Spain, but then we have colleagues in Mexico, in the United States, in Singapore, in Denmark. So that gives us a bit of a global view about opportunities and challenges within the education sector. What we do is we help schools, universities, EdTech companies in their digital transformation. So we're very happy to work with any of you in the future I will drop my email address in the chat as well in case you want to follow up and have any question about today's webinar or the whole series, the webinar that we had last week and the one that we're going to have next week. So before we get on to this week's webinar, come back next week because the third webinar concluding this series will be around funding. And we heard from the community that sometimes a barrier to accessing technology in Ukraine is the cost of that technology, especially when it comes to cloud technology. And therefore, with that webinar, we will just give you an overview of the grants and funding that are available for Ukrainian companies provided by other European countries and beyond Europe. So my colleague David and Joe will be leading on that webinar. So please do come back and we'll be happy to tell you more about that and answer any questions you might have. On to this week's webinar. This week's webinar will focus on cloud technologies. And we thought that the best way to explain that to you was with a concrete case study of someone that actually has gone through the process of uploading to the cloud and using the cloud at maximizing their potential. So here with us today, we have Lyubomir Vanyov. He's joining us from Bulgaria, and he's the Chief Technology Officer of Juniper Education. So Lyubomir, welcome to today's webinar. If you can start introducing a bit yourself and then tell about your story, and then I'll be here available to interact with you at any point.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Alessandro. So, hello everyone. Thanks for. I'm really glad and excited to be here with you. I've prepared literally 3 slides because I think I can cover them and the most important things for, let's say, 20 to 30 minutes. And after that, I would love to answer questions and to make it discussion so it can bring real value for any of you. So I'm sharing my screen just for a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Lovely. So the agenda is brief intro, as Alessandro mentioned. What is cloud and what are key concepts that is important to understand? And after that, how to migrate and what's important to think through it. And after that, the Q&A session. So my name is Lubu. My mom is a teacher. I remember her doing paperwork since I was 5, probably back in the 90s. It was interesting experience and I learned a lot of things. But back then I thought that, okay, this is how it should work. Then I grew up a bit and I saw that this is basically a system bug because we are paying teachers to teach our kids and we are forcing them to feel bureaucracy. And this is happening across the globe to every market that I've seen because education is mainly funded by public funding and all of the policymakers want to have reports and all of those things. But if you don't have right systems in place, then it's enormous amount of work in order to prepare it. So in 2010, I co-founded EdTech, which is a information management system. Had 2 schools as a customers, learned a lot of things, how it should be done and how it should not be done. After that, went to university, totally technical background, worked in several companies. And in 2016, we decided with one of the co-founders that now the timing is good to create a good educational software for Bulgarian schools. We want to tackle 2 main problems that we've identified. First one was bureaucracy. And second one was to improve the communication with parents, because in one paper world, parents understand very outdated information, sometimes few months after the event happened, so they cannot take proactive measurements against this. I think everyone has seen this. So in 2016, we created this company, Shkolo. It started like every company. First, we found 50 schools, then few hundred, then 500,000-600,000, then 1,500, 1,700. And during this journey, as you can imagine, we started solving numerous different problems that happened. And I'll touch after a second briefly about one specific topic in this period, 2016-2022, how we started working with the cloud. Most frustrating 100 hours in my life, but I'll get into this after a second. And once we managed to capture over 70% market share of Bulgarian schools and over 1 million active users, we knew that international markets is next logical step for us as an organization. So in late 2023, we became part of Juniper Education. Juniper Education is second largest EdTech provider in United Kingdom. And myself, I became Chief Technology Officer of Juniper. So now I'm overseeing operations in Bulgaria and in England. So it's I feel confident to say that I have really broad view through different markets and different lenses, how they operate, what are the differences, and what are the similarities, of course. So just to get back for a second about the period 2016-2022. When we started in 2016, we didn't have a cloud provider, which is the reality. Why we didn't have the cloud provider? Because we didn't have the knowledge, the time, or the desire to go with a cloud provider. And in 2020, we already knew that we have problem with our infrastructure, and the solution would be to go in a cloud provider. So January 2020, we started making a plan during the spring break in Bulgaria, which is April, to have everything migrated into AWS. This was the plan. We started making researches, plans, and so on. But then 13th of March, Friday, arrived, which was first announcement of the lockdown in Bulgaria because of COVID, where the government said, great, from Monday, everyone is from home. And we were, we have a problem. At this specific moment, we knew that we won't make it. We started trying to create different load balancers, mainly on database. And on Monday morning, we failed miserably. Last thing that I saw was 250,000 active users on the platform, where in normal days it was 20,000, something like this. So everything failed. We started receiving calls from everyone who can imagine, from teachers, from principals, from parents, from kids, from Minister of Education, from everyone was literally calling us. And just a fun fact, at the same time, everyone was down, including Google, Microsoft, and whoever think else, because nobody's capacity planning a platform for 10x the regular usage. You always plan it for 20-30%, something like this. We failed miserably, and Monday early afternoon at 2 p.m., I would say, we found a partner that felt confident to migrate everything in AWS. So we started roughly at 2 p.m. on Monday, 9 people in total, and Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., almost everything was migrated and platform was operational. So this is how the whole journey started. It was an absurd period, but a lot of lessons were learned there. And from then, this was just the beginning of the journey of the cloud, because if someone says to you, you're going to the cloud and all of your problems are solved, he'll lie to you. And this is the reality. This is where the journey starts. And this is a good thing, because you start thinking and optimizing and changing different components of your infrastructure so they can be better better for the users, for yourself, and for everyone else. But it's not it's not a sprint, it's a marathon that needs constant iteration over it. And so this is who am I, what I've been to, and now on to the next slide, which is what is cloud, and what are the key concepts in there. Here there is only one thing that I'm strongly advising to remember, that is dollar value is not the same as a business value. When after that I'll explain more in details what I mean about this. But when you're comparing this thing costs $1,000 in the cloud, where I can find somewhere else for $500, this doesn't mean that spending more doesn't bring more value, which is very important point, and I'll dig about it in a second. For example, what are the main differences and concepts between cloud solution and non-cloud solution? Under non-cloud solution, I understand, and the general understanding is that basically servers that you can do whatever you want with them, where in the cloud you've got more managed services. Of course, there are a few nuances, but this is on a very high-level overview difference, where with the servers, for example, you've got full control over them. You can do whatever you want. But as it said, with the great responsibility, with great freedom comes great responsibility. So you need to handle for a lot of things that are untrivial tasks, but they are business critical. And if you don't handle them in appropriate time, then you may literally lose your business. For example, there is a vulnerability, let's say on the operational system level, and you need to patch this operational system. Otherwise, someone may exploit your operational system and then can get access to the whole infrastructure, so you don't have business anymore. And you need to monitor constantly what's happening, where it's happening, how it's happening. So you need to be always aligned. Where in a managed service world, you don't have this hustle. You have the service, and you know it's working, and the cloud vendor is taking care of all of those security patches, breaches, and all of those things. So you don't need to think about this. And after that is the maintenance effort, which aligns back to the full control. In the servers, you literally got physical maintenance of the machines. For example, this is extreme case, but if you've got your own rack, this is literally what's happening, and you need to take care of them. And you have enormous scalability efforts, because if you remember what I said a few minutes earlier regarding what is the capacity planning, you know that, for example, especially in the educational environment, you've got peak hours where everyone is entering your system, and then you need, for example, 5 servers. But during the night, when everyone is asleep, you need only 1 server. You don't need 5. But in order to support this peak in the morning, for example, you need to buy and invest in all of the 5 servers. So this is happening, and there is no service interruption for the users. Where in the managed service world, or in a cloud provider with the right setup, you've got auto scaling out of the box, where in the morning you have 10 machines, but during the night you have only 1, which after that, of course, reflect the cost and the invoice at the end of the month. With the servers, also you've got a lot of customization, but again, this customization, you need to know what needs to be customized. You have a lot of learning curve and support and maintenance, which is real distraction from you as a business, because at the end of the day, the customer doesn't care about the server that he is using. He just want to have this use case fixed in the most optimal way so he can get his job done. He doesn't care about databases, scaling, and all of those things. This is our problems because we are providing the service. And by leveraging more managed services, you can really focus on a core business and on the customers more, and not dealing with some other tasks that are not so important for the customer. And last but not least, which is what I mentioned in the beginning, if you look only as a dollar value, for sure servers are cheaper than the cloud, and this is fact if you look only at dollar value. But now to get back to the point that dollar value is not the same as a business value, I'll give you an example, which is the example that happened prior we migrated back in 2020. Roughly, our database cost in non-cloud provider, let's say without all of the fancy stuff with managed services, we've got our bill only for database was roughly $2,000, roughly. But after that, once we migrated, only for the database, the bill was roughly $5,000, where we can see there is big difference, but now there is the but part. For those $2,000, we had bad backup practices that we need to take care of. So we were spending, let's say, 3 hours a week just to make sure that those backups are there. After that, if you want to restore from a backup, we had roughly 18 hours period to restore a backup, for example. If you want to spin a new machine and to test something, some UAT environment, we needed to spin this machine, wait 18 hours to import everything, test it, and then kill it. So our whole development and debugging process is much slower and all of those things. And in theory, you can say there are better ways to do this, which I agree, but in this case, you need a full-time person taking care of only a backup solution, how it works in the most fastest, cheapest, and appropriate way possible. So in theory, it's like this, but in practice, it's different. Where for the $5,000 roughly bill that we've received, we have out-of-the-box backup solution that is working on whatever period we want, whatever we want, how we want, it doesn't matter. We have we can restore a backup for 2 or 3 minutes. So at any point in time, you can have for 2 minutes the database from any single point in time. Third thing is the backup is point in time. Now we have backups for last month for every second that was in the last month, so we can restore a database. And last but not least, that I forgot to mention it, how it was and how it is, it was the scalability. Because in the previous world, we had one database that was with 192 gigabytes of RAM, because this is what was needed for the peak hours. But during the nights, we don't need this. We need much less. So now we've optimized our infrastructure where during the nights we have only one machine, but during the days we can have 7 machines. And all of this is happening out of the box. We don't need to touch. Of course, we've configured it once, but we don't need to touch anything else. So this is what I wanted really to reflect, that dollar value is different from business value. And if you're looking only the dollars, yes, it's more expensive, but it brings more things to the table compared to non-cloud solution in whatever form is possible. So this is really few things and really key concepts. Hope it helps to understand what are the main differences and what are the main benefits of using the cloud at any stage. And now the question is, what is the appropriate time and when it's best to start using the cloud, actually? Where first, as everything, I would say timing is crucial. Where for timing, what I mean, if you're just starting and you don't have a company, go with the cloud. Definitely. Don't think twice. This is not a question. If you just started, but you're still trying to find your product market fit and you're still making a lot of different things, then probably I would advise to wait until you have product market fit. And why to wait? Because if you don't find product market fit, you won't have company in 6 months or 12 months or whatever the period it is. So it doesn't make sense to have this amount of work done. So if you're just still looking what's the next step for the company, it doesn't matter to make it now. If you're just starting, go ahead from day one, because down the road you save enormous time and resources in this migration. But let's imagine you already have product market fit, everything is doing great, a lot of new customers, everyone is happy. So it's time to think about migration, so we can receive a lot of different benefits of in terms of security, compliance, and all of those things. So the first step is then to assess your infrastructure, or in other words, someone from your organization must know 100% what is working, what is not working, how is working, where it's working, how all the things are connected, and so on. So you can really understand your workloads. Once you understand your workloads, you need a team with at least one person that is experienced with the cloud provider that you're referring to. So he can provide a solution based on your existing workloads, and you can plan the migration, because you can have everything from 1 up to 100 different components into a system. So it's a bit messy. The bigger the system, more the mess. So you really need to understand your system and to have someone who can map it into the cloud. And after that, once you've done all of those 2 steps, it's time to have a proof of concept, where proof of concept is to put some, let's say, development workloads into the cloud. So you can see that it's working, all of the components are working as expected. You can play with your system in some development environment, and you're showing that it's working, basically, as a first step. Once you have this, it's time to plan a production cutover. Planning a production cutover is something that is very important, because some things may go wrong, and this is the reality. And also, you may need some downtime. For example, if your database is enormous, you don't have the time to migrate it, even though there are services, for example, DMS, which is database migration service in AWS, help you solve part of those hustles, if not all of them. There are still things that needs to be planned, think through, and have really clear understanding. When is the moment when you press the button and change the DNS, basically, so it points from IP 123 to IP 456 or whatever. So you can then start working with this. And once you have this plan and everything in place, you just need to click the button and execute the cutover. Once you execute the cutover, you definitely need to plan at least a week to monitor everything afterwards, because you've tested everything, but something somewhere is not working for whatever reason, or it's not scaling appropriately, or it doesn't have permissions, or something else. So you definitely need to monitor it really closely, because it's basically a new home of your system. So this is pretty important. And last but not least, actually, 2 things is first, as I mentioned in the beginning, migrating everything is just the beginning of the journey. It's not end goal, it's just the start. So after that, you need to continue optimizing it, monitoring, and fine-tune it, because in the cloud environment, you can have really numerous things that you can change. And after that is basically iterate and improve, because here this is really straight case, which with so-called lift and shift, which is basically we've got servers at one place, let's put them into another, but it doesn't factor all of the modernization that you can put in place, and changing different services, different machines to manage services and so on, because for some of them it doesn't make sense to change it, but for some of them it makes enormous sense to start using all of those services, because for example, the required time to change a component might be 9 months and the benefit is very low, so it doesn't make sense to change it. So from here, I would just say to remember, first step, if you're starting straight away, go ahead with the cloud. Don't have a second thought, because down the road, you have enormous benefits instead of going somewhere else. If you don't have product market fit, I would say stick where you are, because now it's most important to find the right route and path for the company and the organization. Once you have the product market fit, then continue with the cloud, because it will solve you real problems. And as Alessandro mentioned, cost, here we can have totally different discussion, but there are numerous funds, ways, and optimizations that the cloud is not as expensive as it sounds, because for example, AWS, because last 5 years I'm managing workloads in AWS at not the biggest scale possible, but definitely not one of the smallest customers. You have literally numerous ways how to optimize costs and reduce costs and all of those things. So this is, I think some university should create at least some masters in cloud cost optimization, because, it's really enormous topic. So don't be so afraid of it. And as Alessandro mentioned, I'm sure that AWS will be glad to provide some credits and to better understanding and all of those things. So you can contact him. And this is really what I was prepared. Only a few slides to walk you through, and really would love to hear any questions, feedback. So
That's great. Thank you very much, Lubomir. I think it was very informative when you addressed some of the key points that I think have been of interest to our attendees. Does anyone have any questions at this point? You can even type them out if you prefer, or just raise your hand.
Yeah, I have. Hello, my name is Dima. We are creating a product for scholars in Ukraine, and now we have average 10,000 people per day, and we had such problems that you described with falling when we had we send some notifications and our service fall down, and now just maybe 1 month ago we migrate to AWS too, and use their infrastructure, and now it's better. We can send notifications and save. And my question was about the choice, because we choose AWS like the most popular platform here, and to find some specialists that can provide this service. How you choose AWS between another cloud services? Why you choose it? And also, did you have any needs to change, to migrate maybe to Azure or to Google Cloud?
Okay, so thanks a lot for the question. Here, I'm talking, I'll answer on all of it, but some of the things are in the answer are backed by some data. Some of them are opinion. So just to make sure that it's clear, it's my opinion on what I've heard and what I've researched. So it's not it may be incorrect in certain areas, but this is what our research showed. So we were evaluating AWS, Azure, and GCP, as you mentioned, exactly those three. The GCP, the thing that we found out is that, a bit of context, in theory, everyone is providing more or less the same things, in theory. In theory, pricing is more or less the same. This is theoretical question. If you start looking different things, in theory, it would be the same. What our research found out, it was 5 years ago, Google, GCP, loves to queue services with 1 or 2 months notice. And why they're doing this? Because some of the services, if not most of them, that they're providing in GCP are used also internally in Google to solve different problems. But probably you may see it, Google for last 10 years killed 150 different companies. So it happens that only one of their companies is using one service, so they decide, we'll retire this service. And if you're using this service, you have 1 month to change this service, which is a problem for you because you need to focus now on this, otherwise you won't have business. And predictability of the things that you're using today, you use them in 6 months without disruption is really, really important. So this was the main reason why Google fell in this thing. And after that, for Azure, when we made the research, they had problems with few areas that we found. This is what I mean. This opinion based on the research that we've made, and it doesn't mean all of it's correct. So we found that they have certain problems in certain regions in terms of scaling and services and all of those things. And back then, as you mentioned, even now, AWS were market leaders. So we decided, okay, this is the way to go forward. And I don't remember for us last 5 years if we've been pissed off with AWS. What I'm trying to say is that they're delivering. This is what I'm trying to say. So you can really focus on what is important for you and for your customers, not to manage database backups.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Guys, be active. When you will meet the people who are using this for some time and can explain in easy way everything they already passed by. So go through. Yeah. So you can actually unmute yourself, make some short pitching of your project, and, for example, ask if your project is relevant to go on cloud technology or maybe not, what probably you should prepare before you will go there or something like this. So any specific questions you have. Or we will end earlier.
In the meantime, I do have a question. I wanted to get your take on the topic that we discussed the last week. So last week was all focused on Gen AI, and we hinted at the fact, obviously, on AWS and the services that they offer on the cloud. Based on your experience, once you are on the cloud with AWS, how does it how changing is it for you, the access to Gen AI? How much it makes a difference for you to deploy their solutions on Gen AI because you're on their cloud. So if you could tell us a bit more on that.
Okay. First, I'll cover how easy it's to expand services across AWS in the context. So when we started 5 years ago, I think we were using 12 services. Now, I would say we are using 31 or something like this. And why this is happening? Because I'm sure there is a team in AWS that is thinking how to add services so the users can use them more, which is great. It's part of the job, but it's really easy to start using different services because they're in the same ecosystem. It's just few clicks in certain areas where you just need to click few buttons and then you have the service up and running. So you can start play with it, deploy it, and really start focusing on providing value to the customers, not thinking on how to start different things. For Gen AI, we don't have production workloads still with Gen AI. We've played a bit, but starting the service, it's really few clicks of a button. And then you need just to optimize it for yourself, have a training data, train it, adopt it with your use case and all of those things. But as a first step, start using. I'm sure it's few clicks of a button. So the learning curve to start it, it's not big. So definitely it's just a few clicks of a button. After that, to train it, optimize it, have a production workload. This is a separate conversation, but again, compared to whatever our other way of doing it different than cloud, the effort invested and time invested into starting it, it's uncomparable because in other reality you need hours and hours of work in order just to start, where here you just need to click a few buttons.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. It's all the flexibility that the cloud gives you as well. So as you said, the scalability of the services, and also, for example, remember how just a few weeks ago there was the big news of DeepSeek and how that could have changed the way Amazon made it that the training model available on their cloud in a matter of days. So once you had it there, then you would be able to use it within the safe environment of AWS and just play with it. And I think that when you're on a cloud, you just get all of this opportunity just given to you and very accessible. Any questions from anyone else?
Actually, I have. Your story was so interesting. I wasn't thinking to use this technology for our association, but now I'm actually start to think about this. But my question wouldn't be connected exactly to our case. I would like to ask, in Ukraine, we usually share our fails when we are going through some processes, because it's kind of it's always scared, and when you hear something which you know that you could do the same, it makes you believe to this person and believe in this technology. So my question is, can you share some or one your fails and probably the opposite, the very good thing you were prepared for to go through this way of so one fail and while success story, what you didn't prepared and what you prepared and it was a good thing. Thanks.
Okay, so for the fails, it would be hard to pick one specific. There are numerous. The good thing is that the positive stories are more than the fails, which is the positive thing. Yeah, if everyone is failing. The question is to stand up and continue and make something good after that. So there is no, it's how it works, life as a whole. So it's not only whatever. So a fail, when I said that the migration that we've done from Monday 2 p.m. to Tuesday 8 a.m., we finished it. We finished it actually at Tuesday 8 a.m. But I would say 15% of the platform was not working. And it was not working because we migrated everything and we wanted to have 80% of the platform working, or the more the better, just to have something that is workable, not to have anything. And I would say the previous 70 hours prior to the migrations were constant fail, where just Monday morning was just top of the iceberg, because back then we didn't have any kind of DevOps or system administrator or whatever. We were just developers that were learning on the fly how to support different systems, platforms, and so on. So we tried to introduce load balancing and all of those things, but we just failed at this scale, and this is the reality. So in the Monday morning, everyone was calling us, but we failed, and the good thing is that we didn't stop while we were failing, but we were constantly trying to find a workable solution so everything can be okay. So I would say this is something that really happened. And on the positive side, for example, what happened after that, numerous schools contacted us and told us, hey guys, we need some distance learning solution. And to your wait, why do you need it from us? Because you have Google for free, you have Microsoft for free, you have Zoom, you have whatever vendor you want. Why do you want something from us? And they were, oh yeah, but all of those all of those softwares, they're corporate software, they don't have our data, we don't know how to use them, they don't have support, they don't have numerous different things of the thing, because having a software product and having a software service, it's a different things. So because if I give you a product but you don't have the training, the support, and all of those things, and you're not tech savvy user and you don't have the big motivation to start using it, probably you won't use this software, even if I give it to you for free. And the good thing is that we've managed to introduce for 3 or 4 weeks distance learning solution where 10% of Bulgarian schools used and were paying to us, compared to a free Google and Microsoft. So yeah, I would say it was pretty interesting experience.
You told a very important thing that web services, web product, and it's not the same as a service. So it's really important, and this is in the world when we have so much products, so much services, you never know what is the best. These companies who give as much free services, but all-time support, they are winning this market. So yeah, this is probably one of most things everyone should remember. So yeah.
Yeah,
thanks.
for educational sector, definitely I would say that if you're working with schools, if you're working directly with parents or teachers, B2C, I don't have such enormous experience. If you're working with schools, I can safely say that offering good support is as important as offering a good software. Because if you give a software to the customer without support, training, and all of those things, teachers won't be interested in the long run at enormous scale. There might be niche 5 users will use it, will play it. If you've read Crossing the Chasm, the book, it's really good, but there he explains exactly, first you've got early adopters that are 3 or 5%, so you'll find them everywhere, but then you've got early majority, which is 30% of the users, so you need them, and then late majority, and then late adopters. So first 3% you always fund them. The question is how to find first 50%. And if you don't have really good training, support, onboard, and all of those things, I don't see it happen with B2B because it's very different semantics.
Yeah. Thank you. It was an interesting story. I mean, in general. So the most hard part will be at the beginning when you start to understand how it works and start to feed your materials, if you're already working company, to the cloud, and then it will happen like more easily, as I've understood. So guys, the last question. Anna, Anton, Inna, who else? Yuri, Martin.
No questions. We are a small school. We have up to 300 kids. And I think here was more about some business kind of solutions. And I'm not sure how can we benefit from we use Google Cloud, but I don't know if we can get something more, or maybe we don't know about something, and you can tell us what could we use to make our work better.
Great question. I'll answer on this question as an let's say enthusiast based on what I've read here and there and in discussions, not something that I've really put into practice, so bear in mind. So there are three clear things that can be used as I would see them. First thing is using it for your internal systems. For example, if you have a website, you can put it into a cloud and all of those things. This is the first use case, which is clear. Second use case is providing virtual desktop infrastructure, where there the idea is if you have, let's say, one computer, one PC, something that is 6 years old, for example, and you cannot run Photoshop on it or some other specialized software, you can use this machine as a terminal with good internet connection, because using the cloud in this semantics, you definitely need a good internet connection. But you can connect to a virtual desktop infrastructure, which lives into the cloud. So you have virtual machine, basically, but you're seeing it in your display as a desktop and all of those things. And then you can run specialized software on top of it. So this is a use case that is used. Even some financial institutions use this, for example, banks and so on, but they use it because it's much easier and much more secure. They make it from a security perspective, not so from a resource. We don't have a laptop, for example. They make it because of security, because then you can have really easy centralized environments of thousands of people, and it doesn't matter. And the third use case that I would say is very interesting is to again, with the virtual desktop, you can ease your work by creating different images and then star them. For example, you have an image for a desktop for 5th grade. When the 5th grade is in the classroom, you start this with all of the pre-rolled software needed for them. Then you have a class 8th grade. Again, you start an image with all of this preloaded. So it's very, very easy. Linked with user accounts, they can log into certain environments using their accounts and have everything saved for them. So it can be really interesting cloud infrastructure for this. And last but not least, I would say that it's very interesting that all of the cloud providers, or AWS for sure, provide free credits for schools, students, teachers, different terms apply. Alessandro may provide more information, but I think this is a really interesting channel to provide something to kids so they can start learning technology, how it works, play with it here, there, without bothering of the costs. And if you provide this at scale, let's say 1,000 users, I'm sure that 5 years from now, 3% of them or 5% of them will be interested in technologies because they were playing with it and so on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Alessandro, probably you will tell our audience maybe later, maybe next time, about all AWS perspectives and opportunities for schools, maybe something else, not just for businesses.
Yeah, we actually, as EdTech partners, we are working with a large group, an international large group of schools that are on AWS. So obviously they have the scale of schools there because it's I think it's around 100 schools. So obviously they're not a small school, they have a big numbers of students all that. But there are interesting things that can be done from a school perspective as well using AWS services.
Yeah. So guys, I think we can end our meeting in case you don't have any questions, or maybe you will ask it by email, and we will make possible the answer in any suitable way. So Alessandro, let's end, or you want to say something else?
No, that sounds great. I think it was very interesting, Lubomir. Thank you very much for joining us today and answering the question as well. I'll just remember all of you, we'll see you next week for the third webinar of this series, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, be sure I will remind you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Good evening.